Welcome to Jamaica News Lens for today, January 15th, 2026. Coming up, the government of Jamaica has earmarked US $10 billion to support relief, reconstruction, and grants for citizens whose homes were damaged by the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Stay tuned. Before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest news and updates from Jamaica News Lens. Now, here's today's top story. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness today provided a detailed breakdown of how billions of dollars in relief and recovery funding will be allocated as the government moves into the next phase of post-disaster recovery. Speaking at a press conference, the Prime Minister outlined plans for direct financial assistance to affected households, support for housing repairs and reconstruction, and funding to restore critical infrastructure. Dr. Holness also emphasized transparency and accountability, assuring Jamaicans that every dollar will be monitored to ensure the assistance reaches those who need it most. This is what the Prime Minister had to say.
So we have allocated 10 billion Jamaican dollars in the first instance. $10 billion is a lot of money. And immediately after the all clear from Hurricane Melissa, we mobilized teams to conduct assessments, as I've said, with 70,000 assessments. And we now know how to categorize these assessments and to make allocations accordingly. Now, I want to clarify how these allocations are made. As I had said earlier, we understand that not everyone will be using the resources to restore their roof. There will always be some need for maybe furniture, maybe school uniforms, maybe something that we wouldn't even know and understand that would be necessary for the restoration of the household to normalcy. All right? We understand that. So what we have said is that that activity is called rehabilitation, and for rehabilitation expenditure, the ceiling is $75,000. So if you are assessed as having minor damage, you will get a grant of $75,000. You can use that grant to get, if you had a little stall and you want to get it back up, that's your business. If you wanted to buy back the kids' school uniform and books, that's your business. If you wanted to get back a mattress and a stove or so, that's your business. You can use the grant for that. There's no restriction on $75,000. But you could use the whole thing to get put back on your roof, right, for minor damage. If you got major damage, you will get $75,000 out of the $200,000 that you can use for rehabilitation purposes. There will be no restriction on that. The other $125,000, you can put that towards your roof. That is restricted, and you can only use it at selected authorized hardware or material supplies. Roof, if you are assessed as having $500,000 in damage, again, $75,000 is unrestricted. You can use that for rehabilitation purposes, and the other $425,000 focused exclusively on your roof. And we had to do this. The experience we have had is that there are persons who are going to say, well, I'm going to wait for the money from abroad. What I am going to do with this, it might be a noble thing, such as school fee, or it may go to support the local bar. Now, from my desk as the Prime Minister and from the desk of the Minister of Finance, it's all economic activity. It's all economic activity. Moral standpoint, from a national recovery standpoint, we need to see the roofs go back on, because we know what is going to happen. The same people who got it are going to turn around and say, the government never gave us anything, or what the government gave us too little, what do you expect? We can't have that. So I'm going to take this opportunity to appeal to you. I know 90% of the people who get the grant, they're going to put on their roofs. They're going to use the funds responsibly. But it is the 10% that is going to create the problem. And so I'm appealing to those persons who already have it in their head, please, use the grant for the purpose for which it was given. It's a lot of money. It's taxpayers' money. It's money for which we're going to have to pay for in debt and interest. I mean, there is this notion that, you know, we get a lot of grants and everybody gives us a whole lot of money. I mean, what we have received in grants and donation is not anywhere compared to what we have spent so far from taxpayers' resources and what we have borrowed. So the government can't be frivolous with how it uses these resources. We have to be thoughtful, and we have to always have accountability in the back of our mind. So the National Housing Trust, as our nation's premier housing agency, has rolled out a suite of additional support for its contributors and the wider public, which commenced November 4th, 2025, last year. So they were just like 30 days or so after they were out there supporting the public. So they have a hurricane relief loan of up to $3.5 million for NHD mortgagors and contributors for their immediate relatives to assist in effecting repairs and home improvements to improve disaster resilience. Like, for example, converting from zinc roofs to reinforced concrete, installing hurricane shutters. And that program is ongoing. Persons are applying and loans are being dispersed. They have a 6-month moratorium from November 2025 to April 2026. And this is an automatic temporary suspension of all the required monthly mortgage payments for mortgagors in the 7 worst affected parishes, namely St. James, Trelawney, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James. Approximately, and this, just to repeat, this is from November 2025 to April 2026. This is huge. Yes, approximately 30,000 loan accounts have benefited from this automatic moratorium for mortgagors. And for mortgagors in other parishes, requests for the moratorium are being considered on a case-by-case basis. So again, this is information that may not be known widely in the public, but should be known when the response to the disaster is being assessed. The NHD has given a 6-month moratorium, 30,000 mortgage accounts that they don't have to pay for the 6 months. So there's a disaster relief grant of up to $500,000 to contributors NHD who sustain damage or their immediate relative. Now, the program essentially mirrors the roof program in the sense that the maximum benefit is $500,000 and the benefit is given upon assessment. And it's very important to understand that, again, if you're getting a benefit through the NHD, you cannot come and get a benefit under the roofs program. And that is why the programs mirror each. So there's no higher benefit to get from the NHD or a higher benefit to get from the roofs program. Of course, there is the insurance program that the NHD always has, the peril insurance coverage. And I want to take the opportunity to remind persons, as long as you are an NHD mortgager, you continue to be, and if you have sustained damage, you can apply for your insurance coverage. The NHD is financing the pre-built modular housing solution for rapid deployment program. And this is being implemented through the new social housing program. So the NHD is spearheading a rapid deployment housing solution and is procuring 2,500 pre-built, semi-permanent modular units. The first tranche of 500 housing solutions are expected to arrive in the island in mid-February. These are units of approximately 300 to 400 square feet with a kitchen, bathroom, and living area. These units will be deployed by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development through its social housing program, along with the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. They will be responsible for identifying the individuals to benefit, the deployment and allocation of these units, which were procured by the NHD. So how this will work, again, these units are going to go to the most vulnerable. Persons who won't be able to find the first cent to pay contractor or carpenter. So you would be looking at possibly, an elderly, someone who's shut in, a mother with 6 or 7 children, nobody to help, these kinds of vulnerable cases. Of course, I am not the arbiter of vulnerability. We leave that up to the assessors who are guided by, for example, the guidance of the Red Cross and so forth in looking at the human needs and how they should be treated with.
Thank you for watching Jamaica News Lens. Do remember to like, share, subscribe, and turn on post notifications for more Lens updates.